Starting off on Romanticide for this best of 5, which... Oh, I was pressing 4. There we go. Which is the best of 5 for qualifying match. The rest of the match is the best of 3, but we have 4 qualifying matches today. Half that of the other qualifiers, making this in one way more difficult, less chances to qualify. In another way, it's the last qualifier, so you've already gotten rid of lots and lots of good players. Either one of these guys, I could definitely see making it into the season of DreamHack. BratOK has done it in the past, I do believe. I think Gungfu has actually missed out on both opportunities, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, considering I think he is one of the top 32 players of Europe. But I guess it is kind of an arguable thing about if he's top 32 or top 32 through 36. You know what I'm saying? Like, but BratOK also in that top 32 and literally has been in the past. In the top left, as the Red Terran for Team Star, he is BratOK. In the bottom right, as the green Protoss, he is Cascade's Gungfubanda. I think Gungfu has actually made it into a previous season. But I want to say he missed out on the last one, maybe. Master's Fall, Master's Summer. Yeah, so he didn't make it into fall. BratOK did make it into fall. And then for summer... Gungfu made it into summer. Okay, there we go. There we go. And got kind of close to advancing into the round of 24, whatever it is, but not quite. Well, that's cool. I was curious, but also not much else going on. I say... Well, I'm actually not even paying attention to the match. But I was pretty sure nothing else is going to go on. And looks like I was right. Commander on low ground, Nexus coming down, Chrono on Adept. Nothing weird, nothing fancy. So they both made it in once. Loken for twice. I kind of feel more inclined towards Gungfu winning, but I don't actually have a strong basis for that, if I'm being honest. I guess I just, been casting him and seeing him win, having caught BratOK's bracket, but... Actually, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, actually, I think BratOK might be able to... I think I've seen too many times in the past Gungfu get into good positions and playing good games and up against someone that he could definitely beat. And then when I cast him, when it's actually an important match, like, he doesn't quite make it through. So, actually, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, well, I'm going to give it to BratOK, but... Clearly, I am not sold on either one 100% being the one who moves on through. You got 2 gateways in Blink. You'll see if he adds on the gases. Goes into a 3rd Nexus. BratOK is actually sending over Marines with some Hellions, so just that little bit of extra oomph to a push can sometimes reward you with like 6 or 7 probes killed, on top of all these units dying. Gungfu was paying attention about as fast as possible, but unfortunately his Adept Shade, which would have saved him some headache, didn't go out fast enough. What actually ultimately saves him a big headache, though, is a shield battery finishing up, which I don't think he really had any reason to get, as in like an immediate red alert was flashing in his mind. But just by getting a default shield battery in the natural, he does save a couple of probes, maybe 1 or 2 of his stalkers as well. So nicely done by Gungfu. He is only adding on a 3rd gas and is going for that faster 3rd Nexus. All right, now adding on a 4th gas. Actually, I still think he's going to go for Colossus. Well, he's not saturated, so... We'll see, we'll see, we'll see. Still no Forge is coming down. I think... Well, I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna wait. Why am I saying it? Don't predict it, just wait. Banshees are on the way for BratOK, and it is a Colossus. Okay, alright. The thing is, like, 2 base Robo is very safe. And then if you go 2 base Robo plus Forge on 2 bases, like, you're very, very safe. But there's definitely other variations of how to go into Robo, right? Like, and I think after deflecting that, as small as it was, feeling some confidence to grab a third Nexus and then go into a Colossus. So it's usually something's got to give, right? Either a third Nexus is missing or a Forge is missing. A Forge is missing here. Or you are being a greedy son of a bitch. You know, if you got everything going here. So that's usually the options. Charge starts up. The Robotics Bay is going to be seen eventually by this Banshee, which is getting a decent amount of starting damage. 5 probes, almost 6. 6 would have been much nicer, I think. But 5's okay. Luckily for BratOK, the Observer was just very misplaced. Now this Banshee would be doing a lot less if it actually moved in, but it's not going to move in. So yeah, the one thing that Gungfu is missing with this build is he's got good income, but he doesn't have upgrades. He's got charge as well as blink, but he doesn't have upgrades. Like, eventually he might even slap down double forge, depending on how this game goes or what he sees from his opponent, but single forge is obviously going to happen eventually. So BratOK's going to have the upgrade lead. It is going to be double forge right now. Gungfu has a pretty well-positioned unit, seeing not just the 3rd CC being built, but also the army, so just really nice. It's also checked into the main to see that, but I do think that it was already going to be a typical setup, and seeing the army being back at home is a little more important. In fact, BratOK going to go ahead and make a wall. And I'm actually kind of thinking also a lot more about BratOK being a defensive Terran and Gungfu trying and failing to break him. Was also coming to mind to make me kind of shift my guess to BratOK winning this. But I gotta say, the first 6 minutes of this game is going pretty well. I guess for both players, it's really even. I still can't really see who's going to win. Gungfu did lose probes. He really wish he didn't, because he had the tools to defend, but he did. But there wasn't that many probes. Yeah, the second Banshee so far has been useless, so it's, you know, BratOK did dedicate resources to that. And Gungfu did get kind of he got away with a third Nexus. Not that it's like the greediest thing, but he got away with the third Nexus, got all types of saturated, well set up. Didn't really have to worry about cutting probes at any point. Or even necessarily cutting that much technology. Yes, he pushed off his upgrades, but all the upgrades look like they're going to finish before BratOK pushes, as well as an Archon or 2 is going to be available, as well as extended thermal lance. Like, I feel better right now for Gungfu. That really oddly timed Banshee. I think Gungfu saw his probes under attack and instinctively warped in Zealots, thinking it was a drop before realizing it's a Banshee. Kind of a funny thing that happens there. Gungfu's actually warping in any Stalkers right now. His Stalkers are out on the map looking for maybe... I mean, honestly, they're in a really poor spot right now. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're going to catch, like, units dragging behind the main push out. Because he's got spotters, so, you know, now the Stalkers should be moving to do something. I guess, yeah, I think what he's thinking is that the army will try and abuse this section. Well, now he's definitely thinking that as he breaks on the rocks. That's not obvious. Thanks, ZombieGrub. And then maybe he was also thinking about coming in from behind to deal with the Stalkers, or the tanks with the Stalkers, but anyways, it's not actually that attack. And Gungfu did see that, but kind of last second, so he's desperately trying to move into position before this gets situated. He's got 2 upgrades compared to BratOK's 1. He's got 3 Colossus with their range, a decent number of Stalkers. The Zealots finally charging through with the help of a Guardian Shield as well, and I do believe this will be a very solid cleanup. Very minimal losses, and BratOK's harassment while this is going on has not really done a whole lot. An aggressive blink forward to take down one last medevac, and I think this one's also going to fall if it doesn't have boost, which it does not. An excellent cleanup there for Gungfu. Not much to say about how BratOK could have done that better, honestly. Like, he rushed over here, thought he could get his tank sieged up before the Protoss reacted, and he kind of did. It definitely could have been better. Maybe 2 shots from the tank as opposed to just 1 shot if he had really been there faster. Or Gungfu had been there slower, alternatively. But it's, I don't know if he actually could have done anything else to really help him out. That was a very good army. Gungfu had already reaped the rewards of his decisions in this game, to have his upgrades, to have his technology. And, yeah, I just don't know if BratOK really should have committed. Now Gungfu makes a lot of sense for him to do a counterattack. There's still some Liberator harassment, in fact, double Liberator harassment. It's gonna force a recall of a few Stalkers. And now it's Gungfu's time to kind of abuse this choke. He's, you know, got a pushing through it. It's also gonna be problematic for Gungfu, yeah, but the point is BratOK can't push into him and then jump on his Colossus if they're a little bit vulnerable. Liberators are finally dealt with, and Gungfu still on 4 bases, 75 workers. Finishing up 2-2, so even hitting a bit of a timing as BratOK has been stuck on 1-1 for some time. Planetary is going to finish, it looks like, and help out a little bit, but I wonder if that's going to be better than just lifting it and saving it. We'll see. A couple of Vikings trying to grab these Colossus. Not too many of them. And the Warp Prism Micro, ooh, actually loses the Warp Prism. And BratOK's going to try and move back to the Planetary for that safety, but Gungfu has a 50 supply lead. Continuing to push in here. A couple of Immortals actually helping a lot versus the Planetary. Vikings going down. They do take down one of the Colossus, but not going to grab two. A Disruptor going to get the last hit in the Planetary and the Sensor Tower, and that is going to be it. GG. That was, I think it was a stronger start for Gungfu. 1 Banshee dealing 5 probes worth of damage. If it had been just the Banshee no cloak, I think is totally fine. But it was 2 Banshees with cloak that, you know, in total getting 5 is not exactly a strong start for BratOK. And then I think Gungfu also made all the right decisions with a lot of confidence. He didn't waffle and say like, well, I gotta be scared or I gotta worry about this or that. So now that I saw that first game, I'm gonna swap over to thinking Gungfu's gonna win. Looks like Denver finally has an opponent. And that's only a round of 16. Denver's been waiting a long time. Game 2 of this TvP will be on Oxide. Let's see who changes up the most. In the bottom left, as the red Terran, it is BratOK. On the top right, as the green Protoss, we got Gungfu. Imagine the Banshee shows up to your base, but you've got 4 Zealots standing on each other. If units could stack, you know? The Roach Totem Pole. Rifkin made that joke, came up with that idea 7 years ago. And yet Blizzard never took him seriously. What's up with that? I think it'd be an excellent response, an excellent addition of the Zerg anti-air. The Roach Totem Pole. I don't know if BratOK's gonna do that reap the Marine thing again. It's hard to say that, you know, the couple of Marines that died, because I think like 3 of them left, and the 2 Hellions is really the most fatal loss there. And it started things off poorly for him. But yeah, it is worth noting that it is production that is usually going into other things, more important things. I think that, plus what ended up being a failure of the Banshees, didn't put him in a fantastic spot, but I'm definitely looking more towards Gungfu and how just, like, how comfortable he looked in that game. BratOK was doing the things to try and poke and prod and do some damage, and Gungfu was like, whatever, whatever, whatever. And then had really good scouting thanks to a kind of lone observer getting perfect scouting. So I don't know if BratOK's going to try and maybe match the macro game more. Maybe like straight up 3cc and then into barracks and then just a very simple push. Or if he's going to try and do that setup again. But there's a couple of different options, really. And I think the Terran, it's a little more onus on them to change things up, do different styles. As he throws down a second gas, it will not be a fast 3rd CC. We'll see if he maybe swaps over here, though. Gungfu getting a sentry. Follow up to a single Adept. Adept is chasing down... no, wait, wait, what? Nope. He does have an Adept, but those are... That's a SCV and that's a Reaper. Okay, my bad. So we didn't get any Reaper whatsoever. He actually went right into a Reactor, right after a Marine, which... Oh, there you are, buddy. So very quickly into the Hellions. I just assumed that red dot in the middle of the map was for a Reaper, but absolutely wasn't. In fact, this SCV is for something very important, a good old proxy starport. Really difficult for the Protoss player to tell if it's going to be a proxy starport. You either have to find the proxy itself or get full information in the main and see no starport. Now, sometimes it's very difficult because Adept gets stuck here, right? The Observer comes out too late with whatever opener you chose, but the difference right now is that Gungfu chose a Sentry opener, and that is actually going to scout the proxy starport. Pretty huge difference. It's based off of this, like, 1 unit being made earlier on. I'm not even sure the SCV saw that, so now BratOK is going to be, well, either react to the Oracle, which could be awkward. He doesn't really, so I think he knew it was fake. Anyways, he's going to say, like, well, now he knows. Now, knowing and actually being able to deal with something is very different things, isn't it? So, we see Gungfu actually responding immediately, thinking the starport would come over to the right side, which makes a lot of sense. That's where anything proxy would go. It could go over air. So he's got units there, but then he also is over there because he's got his wall up in the natural. So far, Gungfu with a very powerful start again. Even more powerful as long as he actually deflects this drop. And even though the starport wasn't over to the right side, the drop still is. His units are in position. A force field could help out his probes as well. The sentry providing even, like, more use than the hallucination. There it is. There's that force field. So only 3 probes going down. We're down to 2 Hellions as well. So we'll have to 2-shot the workers. The natural was completely walled off. Literally. Completely walled off. And Gungfu has had an excellent start to this game. Fantastic. It's really a lot more awkward if they go Adept, Stalker, Stalker. Or Adept, Stalker, and maybe then Sentry, right? If the Sentry came after the Stalker, maybe its hallucination is 10 seconds later, and that is a big difference. But no, the fact that he opened up the Sentry saved Gungfu's life and be a little dramatic, because you can still respond to a Hellion drop in time to not just straight up lose the game, but it definitely made his life a lot easier to scout that. So 2 Stalkers, 3 Stalkers even guarding against this. Not gonna let that get away. The Hellions can die and not be so problematic for BratOK, but really love to save that medevac. It's not gonna happen. Following this up with all the barracks, a couple of tanks, literally just a couple, and then back onto the reactor. As Gungfu safely goes for Robotics Bay charge, and then his 3rd Nexus. He has not gotten a follow-up scout in a while since his hallucination. That Sentry could have had a second hallucination, but he used a force field instead. He's actually searching around for the proxy starport. I mean, if it was still around, I think it would have already produced a Liberator, which is why Stalkers are over here, I think, too. Oh, no, he moved them. That's what happened. Because it killed the medevac? Did I miss that? Wait. Oh. Totally missed that. My bad. So totally missed that he actually managed to kind of sneak that drop over to the right side. I thought those stalkers were fine. I guess I was wrong. But the medevac is going to live, and that's nice for BratOK. It is still not a great opener for him. He's all turtled up in his natural, building a third CC. Gungfu. I mean, he's only going to have this this single forge this game in Colossus, but what he could do is go for a buttload of charge lots. He certainly had a decent amount for the defense in the last game, but he could go even harder on the charge lot count if he wanted. Maybe anticipating more of a tank-based style. It's really not that tank-based, though. It is only a couple of tanks. Stalkers are going to see this, move out. And, well, that's when you start warping in Zealots, that's for sure. Gateways are finishing up. He's going to chrono out the Exam Thermal Lance and maybe that Colossus, but he's also got to get some shield batteries, because I think this is going to be still a tough defense. Breaking open the rocks so the choke's a little less effective for the Terran. Scan reveals what is actually a very small army right now. Gungfu trying to catch the army and seeing exactly where it's going to go. Isn't going to see it yet because BratOK actually is... I mean, he's losing out on timing in favor of finding his opponent mispositioned. But I'm actually thinking maybe the timing would have been better. I could be wrong about this, but this is like literally like an extra 20 seconds, right? Maybe even more. Gungfu still sees it, so it's not like he's going to be out of position, but he just had another warp in. His Colossus, third Colossus is now finished instead of on the way. Like, I don't know about this. A couple Hellions going to move into the third, but that's not really the priority right now. Yeah, I think BratOK lost some of the edge there. It was going to be a feisty attack, and now it's like, meh. It does force Gungfu to respond, like he had to take that seriously. He didn't know it was going to take a little while to actually hit. He was seeing an arm move to the left side and was thinking probably, oh, I've got 20 seconds and then it's going to hit me. He had way longer than that. So I guess you could say that he maybe was a bit late to his gases. Maybe he was going to get a second forge and then only now recently got it, sure, but that's about all you can say. He does defend it by just simply not being attacked. Moves on to double forge, adds on some Archons, goes right into Warp Prism speed. So he's going to prep for a little Warp Prism in the main. Terran moves out, Warp Prism goes in main. It's the magic of PvT. Well, this is a bit awkward. Widowmine drop is scouted, but also the Warp Prism is scouted. Did BratOK see that? Gungfu did move his army a little bit in position, but did either of them see that? Alright, Gungfu is responding very quickly. Armory is not done. Drilling Claws is not even on the way, so these Widowmines aren't exactly the most potent. A couple Zealots killing SCVs, doing a better job so far. And then an excellent soccer defense. Gungfu really playing some fine PvT. Fourth Nexus should be on the way, just a little delayed because he was taking care of it. Right into Disruptors, you love to see it. 3 Colossus is that good amount. And in the past, you would see like a lot of additional Immortals once you got to enough Colossus. But now you see just like going right into Disruptors because there's no direct counter to a Disruptor. Splitting is good. EMPs are good because then maybe you can focus fire them a little bit more. And Liberators can be good too, but then, yeah, puts you into a very defensive setup, which it seems like BratOK is okay with being. In my mind, I do think of BratOK and in defense and Liberators and tanks, but... he is the one that's going to be defending. He's got 1-1 against Gungfu's soon-to-be 2-1. His Viking count is actually very healthy. If he stops at 11, I'd love that. 11 to 3 Colossus is good. And in fact, the Vikings he had just found out that Warp Prism, so Gungfu's little tactic there is not going to work out, but I hope that's a freebie fourth. Freebie! Also trying to take care of some of the Vikings. Barely doesn't grab that one. No, he does, actually, at the last second. That was a cancel there. Disruptor used to help take out one of the 2 tanks. Why are there so many SCVs going down? Well, hello! So he took care of the Warp Prism in a really fine way, but then just completely left his third undefended. 29 SCVs went down, and some of the Zealots even escape? Yikes. Geez, that seemed to happen in the blink of an eye. That is a massive blow to BratOK's economy, plus he didn't get the 4th base up. So, I mean, it's something where if he maxes out, then he could turtle his way to recovery. But he's actually kind of moving out here, and Gungfu is going to pick at him until finally engaging him. And I think he's going to win that engagement. BratOK could be building a 4th base. He could be building an armory. Oh, he actually has. Well, he could be building his upgrades then. But he's not doing anything. It seems like he might have been put himself, his mentality, into an all-in position. Because I'm actually not sure he's quite in an all-in position. I think if he defended, if he turtled, he could actually get a 4th base up. He'd always be down in upgrades, but, well, no, this is going to be an easy cleanup for Gungfu. This just made his life a little bit easier. Disruptor's getting some amazing shots. Vikings not even involved in the fight for most of this time, so the Colossus are getting free shots, and that is it. Gungfu looking, honestly, much better in general. Just making all the right calls, all the right micro, but then BratOK also was looking worse than I expected. I mean, his style has always had its drawbacks. He'll get, like, some of those leads based off of the Hellion opener and then maybe turtle a little bit too much, wait a little bit too much, whatever. But, yeah, he seems very uncomfortable. Which, to be fair, you would be uncomfortable if your stuff wasn't working in the first 5 minutes either. But more uncomfortable than I thought he would be. Apparently, Zipper the Fly versus Christianer is the other qualifying match. We're now on Death Aura for the 3rd game. In the top left, down 2, he is BratOK. And in the bottom right, as the blue Protoss, he is Gungfubanda. And while he didn't make it into the last season of DreamHack, he looks like he is about to make it into this season. The first season, he ended up 5th out of 8 players in the group, which was very close to qualifying for the next round of the tournament. So when Gungfu didn't make it into the next season, it was quite a shock. Not as shocking as if, like, you know, a Showtime didn't make it through, or Euthermal didn't make it through, I suppose. But yeah, to me, it was still kind of a shock. I do consider Gungfu up in the top 32. On the good days, that I think I think that might be one of the major problems that I see whenever I look at a bracket and I see Gungfu. It's either, yeah, he eventually meets the people who are top 16, and that's fair. But I feel like I also see him match up against people who I'm like, well, you should beat him, right? Like, Christiana, for instance, who is also a good Protoss, but as far as, like, name recognition, as far as how much they've been, how long they've been playing StarCraft, I think Gungfu's been playing basically since the beginning. I remember casting him back in 2011. Although, he did actually seem to retire for about a year or something like that. I think if you looked at his Ligulac, there's going to be like a big old gap at some point. But anywho, or like Zipper the Fly, like, I mean, sometimes he does just lose to kind of like the other up-and-coming players, I suppose. It does look like the last qualifying match, whoever Denver is going to end up facing, maybe? Or whoever Indy's going to end up facing, I should say. Denver is the one who's still making his way through. It looks like that might be available for casting after this one, but my voice is feeling kind of tired, so I might skip it. Pro being a nuisance, as always. We got a little pylon, so that's something interesting. Gungfu about to slap down a Stargate? Actually, his gas is... Usually you wait that long? It feels like something happened with his gas, but now he has enough. Okay, there we go. And that is still a very fast Oracle, and also an unscouted Oracle, and also a proxy Oracle. So if I'm gonna guess that he's gonna do the attack he did versus an earlier Terran, which is also a common attack. 4 Protoss actually open up the Stargate. That is when you bring the Adepts into the natural as well as the Oracle into the main, or all together. Or maybe you even manage to get the Adept Shade into the main too, like whatever. But the point is, you're gonna add everything up, and adding everything up with a Terran who doesn't anticipate it can sometimes result in that snowball. The snowball victory. I would say most of the time when I see this in the professional tournaments, I don't see it do enough damage to win. Not for a while anyways. When this first was being done, it was super obnoxious. And then people kind of got used to it. The Hellion actually is going to scout this. Oh my god, BratOK uses Diva. And actually immediately changes up all of his production into anti-air. So a Viking is on the way. I think the Cyclone was already on the way, but definitely continue building the Cyclone. And then the Oracle should not do anything at all. And Gungfu, I don't know if he knew he was scouted. The Hellion kind of zoomed on by. The Hellion's not going to do very much. The Oracle is going to wait for its buddy. I mean, he can still save the Oracles.
Received. Thank you for appeasing.
But a lock-on plus Viking, if you overstay your welcome for half a second, an Oracle will die. BratOK also could just go across the map and attack if you really wanted to. Try leaving a Viking at home and trying to just get a big ol' surprise on Gungfu. As Gungfu does grab a 3rd Nexus, a Twilight Council, and very few other production centers. I don't know if it would be the worst idea, but the obvious downside there is that if it doesn't work, the Oracles might have just obliterated your SCV line. Thank you, Urban Forest, for the 2-month resub. Gungfu to match fixing case so long ago, most people must not remember it. That's true. As far as I recall, though, it's not like people use match fixing, and it's not incorrect, but it's like there are very different degrees of match fixing. There's win trading, which is just really not as bad. But you're right, he did have that going for him. But I think even beyond that, I remember not being like, having the uncomfortable like, where's Gungfu? Oh, right. No, it was even before or after that I felt like he had stopped playing for a little while. But anyways, doesn't matter. So the Oracle's going to swoop in. BratOK is going to do the push. And this is the downside I was talking about. You could lose a lot of SCVs. The Vikings actually stayed at home, which means they're going to take out one of the Oracles, and then they should move across the map to help the push, because 3-landed Vikings is nothing to shake a stick at. Cyclone actually dies before the push starts, and I think that's a mistake. He just wasn't paying attention. He was microing against the Vikings, or with the Vikings. Cyclone could have actually been a big help here. Gungfu's looking around for the attack. He knows it's somewhere. He's going to miss it, though, kind of awkwardly. I don't know if this is going to go that great for BratOK, though. I mean, it's nice that he found their army at a lot of position, but goes right after the pylon, takes care of the shield battery, but not the gateways, and the tank gets lost. Another tank is going to get found, too. And Gungfu should be able to reinforce behind back at home and be fine. The Vikings aren't even helping anymore as BratOK mismanages the attack. Yeah, ideal situation for Gungfu. Well, not maybe ideal, but again, another good hold. Gungfu's only up by 7 workers, but his 3rd Nexus is done. BratOK still hasn't transferred any workers over to his 3rd command center as it turns into an orbital. Actually, a surprise. Wait, why is he getting so many missile turrets? It's not even 1 Oracle anymore. The other Oracle died. That's odd. He loses his army and then he builds missile turrets?
Twitch Prime sub received.
What?
Thank you for appeasing the
You think it was DTs? What? That's actually really odd to me, but it doesn't matter. Point is, like, whether those 300 minerals are going into more barracks production, he didn't have the production right here, right now, and that is going to be the game. GG. Gungfu with a super easy 3-0, far easier than I thought it was going to be, takes one of the last spots of DreamHack Winter, and we'll see him again in groups on Tuesday, actually. Starts very soon. Thank you, DD Fio.